Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar among us, the Honorable Chairperson of National Human Rights Commission, Mr. Justice Arun Mishra, Honorable Members of the Commission, Dr. Gyaneshwar Mule, Mr. Rajiv Jain, Secretary General NHRC, Mr. Devendra Kumar Singh, Director General Investigation, Mr. Manoj Yadav, and Joint Secretary, Mrs. Anita Sinha. This is the second day of the National Conference on Child Sexual Abuse Material. And may I request Honorable Member Mr. Rajiv Jain to please deliver welcome address.
Honorable Minister, Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar Singh ji, Honorable Chairperson, my fellow member, Mr. Mule, Secretary General, Mr. D.K. Singh, Manoj Yadav, our Director General Investigation, Anita Sinha, Joint Secretary, my other colleagues in the NHRC, representatives of NGOs, legal fraternity, intermediaries, police officers from different states and other central police organizations. I'm extremely honored, sir, to welcome you and to spare your valuable time to be with us today. Sir, during the past day and a half, we've dealt with the subject of child sexual abuse material from different perspectives. So our first technical session was on the nature, the magnitude, the manifestation of the problem. The second one was on the legal issues. And the third was on the role of intermediaries, including ISPs, content hosts, as also messaging apps and so forth. And fourth was a session on role of international organizations where we had representatives of the UNODC, the OHCHR, the UN office in India, UNICEF, and so forth. And finally, today, sir, we had representatives from different police organizations. So during these sessions, we talked about not only the nature of the problem, but more about what more is to be done. What can the intermediaries do? What can the police organizations do? A recurrent theme that we found was that more needs to be done at the level of prevention of distribution of CSAM material. Hence, the role of intermediaries is critical in this. And the discussions were very meaningful, sir. We would be compiling the recommendations of the conference in course of time and submitting to the government. I welcome you, sir. Thank you very much.
May I request Mr. Justice Arun Mishra, Honorable Chairperson, National Human Rights Commission, to present a bouquet to Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Honorable Minister for State of the State for Electronics and IT. Can you present a memento also, sir?
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
May I now request Mr. Justice Arun Mishra, Honorable Chairperson, NHRC, to deliver his address. We are delighted to have the august presence of Shri Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Honorable Minister for State for Electronics and Information Technology, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. My other member, Dr. Mule, Shri Rajiv Jain, Shri Devendra Kumar Singh, Secretary General NHRC,
Mr. Manoj Yadav, Director General Investigation, Mrs. Sinha, Joint Secretary, other officials, domain experts, our other guests, officers from the Central State Government Commission and members of media. As we are coming to the end of fruitful discussions of 2 days conference spread over 5 sessions, we know that every expert has expressed concern for protecting the children from sexual abuse. They were unanimous on this, that has to be done. We cannot failure in the same. Various practical suggestions have come for improving the technology and filling the gap in the existing law. There is need for collaborative and cooperative strategy of all stakeholders to combat CSAM. There is need to spread awareness concerning the agencies empowered to redress the grievances and make investigations. Upgrading the helpline is also a felt necessity and making it of higher quality. There is inadequacy of infrastructure and know-how dealing with the CSAM. The investigating officers who are experts in it are not kept at the same place for sufficient time and they are replaced. That creates further problem in the system. There is necessity for trained personnel and resources for digital forensic labs to investigate the cases effectively. The existing laws, POSCO and IT Act, do not cover all forms of CSAM, such as animated and gaming materials. There is need to provide adequate protection, rehabilitation, and psychological help to recover from the trauma of abuse. A speedy trial of such offences is also felt necessary. Most of the such offences are not even reported, much less solved. Those who come to the knowledge, only fewer are solved. There is problem of identification of the victim. Extraterritorial jurisdiction makes it very difficult for to effective implementation of law, and there is a indifference of the agencies. Why we cannot have a whistle 24/7? We are depending, it is unfortunate state of affair that we are depending on the foreign data furnished by the foreign at the base, Interpol and other. Where we have all technology within India. Why we cannot have that mechanism to have 24/7, 365 vigilance? These are the offenses which can be prevented. Why we are not trying to prevent it? What is the hitch in preventing it? Whose hand is there not to prevent it? We were told by several speakers, expert speakers in the sessions, that there are issues of privacy and freedom of expression and speech. I wonder, as a student of law, I want to learn whether freedom of speech and expression can be used to permit your platform to commit these kind of offenses which are live streaming of the child sexual abuse. The worst form, the heinous crimes which are being permitted by the ISPs and intermediaries. Our law requires due diligence to be used for this purpose by every person. Let there not be an IT Act. Let there not be any POSCO Act. Our due diligence concept, which has developed in the common law, requires every person to buy, if he can ascertain, if he is easy providing any services, he should buy reasonable intelligence if he can know that his platform is misused. This becomes his duty to stop it. These ISPs and intermediaries are taking the garb of this freedom of speech and privacy issues. This is totally impermissible, illegal, and unconstitutional. It is not acceptable in common law concept. Let there be no law to deal with this. We were told in some countries this law was with respect to ISPs as well as intermediaries was tried to be enacted, but it was stopped by the unforeseen hands behind it. Let there be no law. Law is not such a, unreasonable thing cannot happen even in common law concept. There is no concept of law of freedom of speech and this expression which permits when newspaper, if there is freedom of expression and speech, why we stop media? Why we stop newspaper? Why we stop others from hate speeches and all that? If we cannot provide prevent the misuse of 96% of the space, which is being misused for committing not only this CSAM but various other kinds of crime. We are failing in our duty. We are not performing our duty. This is every innovation and technology is for the benefit of humankind. Law is with morality. Technology use should be with lawful purposes and entertained with morality. If we use the technology for our self-destruction, days not away, then there will be no life on this planet Earth. We are already destroying the environment around us. We are destroying the morals. We are destroying our culture. We are destroying our philosophical thought. Let us go back to our Indian culture. Let us go back to our philosophy. Let us protect the childhood, motherhood, woman who is respected in this country. We are ignoring them. This is offense against women. Why we should so much bother? This is offense against a child, which is common. This is the approach and mindset on which we have built our forefathers have built the edifice of our culture and philosophy. We have to do something. We cannot afford this kind of luxury. This indifference is intolerable. Let something be done in Amrit Kal of this India. India should take the lead in the world to show the light, as envisaged by our Maharshi Arvinda, that India will be giving the light to the entire world, not only to the country and this Asia. Technology is evolving every day, so that the methods of misuse by the offenders, updating of digital tools is required constantly and continuously. The prevention is the only mode in which I feel that this commission of offense online can be stopped. If we cannot prevent, just booking the offender after offenses, we have permitted the offense to be committed which was in our hand to be stopped. If there is no live streaming of these offenses will not take place online. At least we can prevent this from being sold. These are being commercially sold. These videos are being commercially sold for commercial gain. And their internet service providers and intermediaries are doing what? They are earning revenue. When you are earning revenue, can you take the garb of this privacy, and when it is going to be in public domain, it's not going to be a secret thing. It is a duty to filter, duty to block, duty to stop dissemination and perpetuation of the offenses. Otherwise, according to me, they are they become the abettor. These service providers and intermediaries are definitely abettors in case they are not able to stop it, and knowing fully well their space is being misused for commission of the offense at a given point of time. When you are transmitting and making it public, and then you cannot take the garb of a rule, maybe it may be there under common law, the responsibility is more that only on the knowledge being made or the court's order we will remove this content. Hiding yourself. No umbrella is provided by the Constitution for such an act, for such state of affairs in which we have come to face today. We have to deal with the technological challenges by making the law stringent law, amending the law if necessary, and stop streaming of such at the basic point. Thereby, we will stop the commission of the offense. This is our duty, due to the welfare state, duty of the all stakeholders. We have also seen, it was deliberated by one of the speaker from Supreme Court advocate that there is non-cooperation of internet service providers and intermediaries. It must be tackled effectively by stringent legislative provisions, the judiciary, and by other bodies like commissions. It was also pointed out that they are having different standards in different countries. This is required to be looked into. If human rights are common, declaration is one, human is having the same rights in the entire world, why there can be different prescription by standard, one for different for India, will take the guise of privacy, freedom of speech in India, but elsewhere it's not like that. I feel that there is a necessity to incorporate the responsibility of ISPs and intermediaries both in the contract as well as in the law. We are capable of making a vigil 24/7. Let us start that vigil. Apps are available to prevent at least child viewing these kind of obnoxious material and to be victim of online CSAM. We should try that every mobile service provider, internet service provider should be mandated to provide such devices. Use of artificial intelligence was also deliberated upon, which can be effective tool for dealing with the CSAM. There is need for use of the latest technology. International cooperation and vigilance is definitely required because internet has no respect for the boundaries. Use of technology for immoral purposes is not permissible. Now, there were several other practical suggestions have been given by the international participation was there yesterday of several experts. They have given their views. Today also we had cyber experts and several other experts have also enlightened us. Our core group is going to meet today, and it is definitely a start for us, not the end. I am thankful to every speaker, and I am thankful to the Honorable Minister who has spared his valuable time and has actually changed his schedule. He was supposed to go somewhere else, Vijayawada, but his concern towards the child and concern towards the progress of the nation is shifted other programs and is here. We are definitely grateful to him for his kind presence. Now we are eager, all of us are eager to hear from him that since he is a policy maker for the country and is dealing with the subject, Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Honorable Minister of State for Electronics and IT and Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, to address the gathering.
Honorable, Honorable Justice Arun Mishra ji, Dr. D.M. Mule ji, Shri Devendra Kumar Singh ji, Shri Rajiv Jain ji, Shri Manoj Yadav, Shrimati Anita Sinha ji, and to all of you here who are present, my good afternoon, namaskar. First of all, I must thank NHRC and its leadership, including Justice Arun Mishra ji, for conducting this seminar. And I will explain to you in some detail about why this is important. He referred to our duty. He said it is our duty that CSAM and the proliferation of CSAM should be stopped. Let me take it further and say that I think it is the duty of every adult in India to do our hardest possible work to ensure that every child in India has a safe and a happy childhood. And I don't say this as a rhetoric, I don't say this as a slogan. Our Honorable Prime Minister has talked about fundamental duties of Indian citizens, and I place ensuring a safe and happy childhood for children as one of the fundamental duties of every Indian citizen who's an adult. The challenges of child exploitation, child sexual exploitation, in particular CSAM in general, is a real challenge. And I will give you a little backstory to tell you how I have been involved as an individual. I have been a member of parliament for 17 years. I've been a minister only for a year and a half. And my concern and my work around this topic has predated my ministership. And therefore, I hope I bring a certain different perspective to this and a determination to ensure that this is something that we address at the earliest. In 2015, I was an MP. I was 9 years as a member of parliament, and I had debated and discussed many things, the 2G scam, governance, economy, and this was not on my radar at all as an issue. And it is something that I got involved in because a young couple in Bengaluru reached out to me when their 3-year-old child was in a school, got sexually abused by a caregiver in the school. And then I had to help them navigate this very complex, child-unfriendly system to get justice. So that is a separate conversation about POCSO, and we will, at some point, when there is a discussion on that, we'll discuss that. But out of that experience, I met with the police who were investigating this, and they showed me the laptop of the perpetrator of the crime. And the laptop was full, and I am not oversaying this, full of images of children from all over the world and in India that were beyond CSAM and CSAM. And it then opened my eyes to this problem of how this criminality, this criminal activity is not just proliferating, but is growing and is completely undeterred by any challenges of any law online and on the internet. So to say again, the challenge is a real one. The anger, the spirit that Justice Arun Mishra ji said about our collective resolve to fight this, I think is absolutely something that is very necessary. But in order to understand how we will do this, let me share a little backstory, and I understand there are intermediaries here and those who are on the internet. To understand how we've come to this pass, how have we reached this stage where we have 800 million Indians online, billions of people on the internet. We are the largest connected nation in the world. Soon we will be 120 crores, 1.2 billion Indians online. And how is it that we are not able to succeed in addressing this issue, or why are we taking these baby steps in succeeding on this issue? There is a history to this. Technology and innovation have escaped regulation and scrutiny for several decades because they were technology and innovation. And so many years, intermediaries masqueraded as, I'm an innovator, I'm not a publisher, I'm not responsible for the content on my platform. Oh, and by the way, there are millions of people using my platform. It is physically impossible for me to content moderate. And then, as Justice Arun Mishra ji said, when you make an attempt to moderate that content, then people pull out freedom of expression, privacy, and all of these other things as barriers to that kind of oversight and scrutiny. So this was the status quo for many years. Intermediaries essentially played this game of escaping scrutiny by saying, I'm an innovator, I'm not a publisher. And frankly, it is all about the individuals. Please find the individual and prosecute him. But every one of those individuals would then again continue to be anonymous because they would again say, for privacy, I want anonymity. So you had a strange situation that the internet, and I was deeply involved in the early days of the internet when I was in the US in the late 80s. The internet that was conceived as a force of good, that the internet that was meant to connect people and do all these warm and fuzzy things about bringing everybody together and globally connecting people and breaking down barriers, has over the last decade and a half also morphed into a vibrant ecosystem where criminality and illegality and user harm thrives. So I still maintain technology and the internet are powers for the good. They do a lot of good. They transform people. They empower people. They allow people access to information. They create transparency. But it is certainly clear now that over the last decade, the internet has also started being a space which is thriving with illegality, criminality, user harm, exploitation, and what have you. Even the mildest critic of the internet and mildest critic of intermediaries and platforms in the internet will accept the hostility, the toxicity, the criminality on the internet today is at an all-time high. So how do we collectively, as the largest connected nation in the world, the largest global presence of the internet on the global internet, how do we deal with this? The Honorable Prime Minister of India very early on has made it clear that we will approach the internet by addressing both. We want to grow innovation, grow the internet, allow more and more Indians to connect to the internet, but at the same time, we want to address the issues on the internet, and essentially he has laid out 3 boundary conditions which are relevant to today's conversation. That the internet should be open, yes. Freedom of expression, privacy, all of those values should be represented on the internet, which is what we as a liberal democracy celebrate. But the internet should also be a safe and trusted place. That with 1.2 billion Indians, men, women, old, elderly, students, digitally literate, digitally not so literate, all using the internet, that we have to have policies, we have to have interventions that make sure that the internet is safe and trusted. Safety and trust cannot be compromised and sacrificed at the altar of a conversation of freedom of speech or a conversation about privacy. Safety and trust, law and order, safety of every citizen, just as it is a fundamental duty of a government to ensure that in the real world, it is also the duty of every responsible government to ensure safety and trust of its citizens and in particular its children online. So what did we do? What have we done? And I'm not saying this is the complete picture. We must continue to go down this road. We have used the legislation that we have currently, which is the IT Act. It is a 22-year-old act. It is certainly, in the internet scheme of things, a very, very ancient act. We have used the IT Act of 2000 and created IT rules, one in May 2021, and more recently, a few months ago, an updated version, which casts very specific obligations on intermediaries. And under Rule 3 of these IT rules, there are now due diligence obligations on the intermediaries which make it imperative, which make it obligatory that all CSAM cannot find place. Their content moderation strategies, they have to go beyond this narrative of being a dumb platform, we don't know anything, to a platform that certainly knows what is going on and has an obligation to remove 9 types of content. And central amongst that is CSAM. And the consequences of not, and we give them 2 shots at this. One is they do it on their own, and the second is if reported, they have an obligation in 72 hours to remove it. And if they choose to quote this is a famous temptation that they have to quote some San Francisco guidelines or UK user rules or whatever, anything, we basically simply say we will withdraw the immunity that you enjoy as a platform under the IT Act, under Section 79, and therefore then you are open to being prosecuted under normal law for the content that you have on your platform. So in a nutshell, for decades, the model that was enjoyed by intermediaries and which helped CSAM and other illegalities and criminalities to proliferate, which is, I am immune from prosecution, I don't know what content is on my platform, and I will encourage anonymity to prevent traceability of the content if illegal content or criminal content is on my platform, has now been completely replaced with, if you are an intermediary in India, you will have obligations of due diligence on what content you will carry, and you further have the obligations that if there is a content that is illegal or criminal or a CSAM, you have the obligation through the first originator to tell us, even if the person is anonymous, when a court order is produced that this is an illegal content, that you identify the originator of that content. So we have moved from no questions asked, free for all, wild west of the internet, to an internet where there are obligations that have been cast on the intermediaries, and there are expectations of the intermediaries if they want to do business in India, if they want to continue to deal with Indian consumers. And this is very unambiguous. It has been explained to the intermediaries. Those rules are in effect now. And the intermediaries, I can assure you today in this audience, are complying with, and they have understood that this is not a relationship that is adversarial. The government and the intermediaries together have a joint interest in making sure the internet is safe and trusted and is free from material or indeed exploitation like CSAM. What is our path going forward? I think, as I said, the Honorable Justice Mishra also mentioned that we can't rely on old laws and the tentativeness or the reach of these old laws, because these are new challenges that the old laws never envisaged. This was never a scenario that in 2000, when I was an entrepreneur, when the IT Act was enacted, and the Act, by the way, the Act does not even talk about the internet. It does not mention the word internet. So that the law of that jamana cannot deal with these crimes of this jamana. And so therefore, the government is going to go ahead and come up with a new act to supersede this, called the Digital India Act. And the Digital India Act will be a very contemporaneous piece of legislation that will deal with uh, everything necessary to make sure that the internet in India is safe and trusted. We take this obligation to make sure that the internet for our digital Nagariks is safe and trusted very, very seriously. It is a task that has been given to us by our Honorable Prime Minister. And we believe as more and more Indians use the internet for everything from work to income creation to getting their benefits, getting their education, getting their skills, that the internet for us, and I don't want to talk about the US, I don't want to talk about the UK, I don't want to talk about China, certainly I don't want to talk about China and Japan. For us, we will chart our own course. We will basically work very, very hard to make sure that the internet is safe and trusted, not just for adults, but also our children. Of course, we all accept that CSAM, when it comes online, is already a consequence of some exploitation that is happening outside the internet. And that is an area that I will not go into today, but that is another area that we should think about and talk about what reforms we need in POCSO, how we need to make sure that our children can remain safe. Justice Mishra mentioned online gaming. I can tell you, certainly he has hit a very strong point there, that there are thousands and thousands of games which are gamified CSAMs. While they may masquerade as games, they pretend to be games. Like they say, they walk and quack like a game, but they are certainly CSAM. And we are now in the process of enacting under the same IT Act new rules for online gaming, which will make it very, very difficult for games that are incorporating CSAMs to be available on the Indian internet. We are using Section 69 and the powers to block judiciously, and whenever there is a CSAM content reported and the platforms have not responded, we use those kinds of powers that the government has lawfully granted powers judiciously to block sites that are block sites or content that are CSAM linked. I will end here by saying that I think this is an important conversation, and I hope NHRC continues to lead the way. It has been in many times, this has been an often solo effort by METI because of the weight of the lobby that deals with freedom of expression and uses freedom of expression and privacy as a barrier. And it is ironical because I was the appellant or a petitioner in the case that went to the Supreme Court, which found that privacy is a fundamental right. So I believe in privacy being a fundamental right, but I certainly don't believe that privacy or indeed freedom of expression can be a cover for criminality and certainly not criminal crimes against children. So I hope these kind of conversations continue. Certainly what I've heard today strengthen my resolve and our government's resolve to ensure that the internet will be safe and trusted space for all Indians, and in particular our children. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Mrs. Anita Sinha, Joint Secretary, National Human Rights Commission, to deliver a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon to you all. It is my proud privilege to present vote of thanks at the end of this two-day national conference on CSAM organized by National Human Rights Commission. First of all, I would like to place my gratitude on behalf of NHRC and all present here to our chief guest, Shri Rajiv Chandrasekhar, Honorable Minister of State for Electronics and IT and Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, for gracing this valedictory session of National Conference on CSAM. Sir, in your valedictory address, you have reiterated your commitment and also highlighted the importance and challenges faced in this regard. You have shared your personal experience in this regard and also communicated that the right of children is supreme and we cannot just ignore it. Technology and innovation have regulation, but they cannot go away and move away from the obligation. The obligation on intermediaries regarding CSAM is there, and they have to come up with it. Internet is a vibrant place and largest connected nation in the world, we know through internet. It's a vibrant economy system where criminal activity thrives. You have also mentioned that we need to make it a place which is safe and trusted, and the government is committed to it. The government is coming out with Digital India Act, which will tackle all these issues. Thank you so much, sir, on behalf of NHRC and all present here. My sincere thanks to our chairperson, Justice Arun Mishra, under whose able leadership and this conference was held. Sir, you have clearly mentioned that law need to be amended accordingly, and ISPs and intermediaries cannot deny their responsibilities in gauge of right to privacy. I am grateful to the competent guidance of our honorable members, Shri D.M. Mule and Shri Rajiv Jain, and overall guidance of Secretary General Devendra Kumar Singh. We have successfully conducted this 1.5-day conference and intense discussions with suggestions. I would also like to place on record thanks to Shri Manoj Yadav, Director General, Shri Surajit Dey, Registrar Law, and my colleague Shri D.K. Neem, Joint Secretary, and other senior officers of NHRC for their cooperation and contribution for this successful organization. My sincere thanks are due to the chair of all the 5 technical sessions, headed by Dr. D.M. Mule, Chairperson NHRC, Shri Rajiv Jain, Shri Shombi Sharp, Union Resident Coordinator in India, and Madam Sundari Nanda, who have smoothly conducted the sessions and keeping the discussions focused to extract the best from the panelists. I would also like to thank all the panelists and speakers, especially those who have taken time out and effort to come over to Delhi, and also those who've joined online. Representatives from ministries, police officers, international bodies, representatives from various internet service providers, intermediaries, members from civil societies and NGOs, members of core group of NHRC, and special rapporteurs who have taken part in this conference. The sessions have been very informative, and we are grateful to all the speakers who have been very knowledgeable and who have brought in diverse range of perspective and conclusions to this subject. The working group which has been formed would now put together recommendations and make actionable points and suggestions in the larger interest of children of this country. Several valuable suggestions have already been come, and I thank all. I would like to place on record my sincere gratitude to all my colleagues at NHRC, especially those in the research units, the JRCs concerned, officers of law division, investigation division, general administration, coordination, IT cell, JLRCs, media persons, and Vigyan Bhavan staff, and all other support staff who have worked day and night hard to make this program a huge success and conduct it through smoothly and without glitch. The Commission is deeply concerned with human rights violations, especially faced by vulnerable sections, women, children, and CSAM. Proliferation of CSAM has become a serious concern, emerging from the rapid growth of technology and enormous use of internet, including social media platforms. I sincerely hope that this effort of NHRC in holding this conference would benefit all the participants, especially the law enforcement agencies, content hosts, intermediaries, ISPs, and policymakers, to tackle the menace of CSAM and protect the rights and safety of children. I thank you all once again. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you. And now you all are invited for the lunch with a request to